Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, and it is election day. So today's video is going to be all about the 2024 general election for the presidency of the United States. I'm about to head over to the voting poll right now, and I'll give you more details once I get there. Alright, I have just made it to the polling station. It's at my local elementary school. I actually went here for a couple of years, so it's a familiar place to me. So let me tell you a little bit about today's election. It is for the presidency, and we have Donald Trump as the Republican nominee and Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee. So those are the two major people that people will be voting for. There are other people who will also be contesting, but they most likely will not get enough votes to secure the presidency. So let's go over how the voting process actually works. So we use what's known as electoral votes rather than normal votes. So what that looks like is each state has a certain number of votes that they can give to one of the two candidates based on a majority in that state. There are a total of 538 electoral votes, and a candidate needs 270 of them to win the presidency. So let me give you an example in the state of Virginia. So we have 13 electoral votes here based on our state's population. Let's pretend that there are 100 people in Virginia. Let's say 51 of them vote for candidate A and 49 of them vote for candidate B. In the overall votes, half of the votes don't go to one candidate and half don't go to the other. All 13 of the electoral votes are going to go to candidate A, which won the majority in this state. And so that's how it works on a state-by-state basis. All of the votes are tallied up, and the candidate with above 270 or above votes is the one who's going to be winning. So that's what the voting process looks like. The station's behind me, and we're going to go in and vote now. So like I mentioned, every state has a different number of electoral votes based on their population. Virginia has 13. States that have a lower number of people in them and with a smaller population, for example, Alaska and North Dakota, have only 3 electoral votes. Contrast this with states. California has 54 electoral votes, New York has 28, Florida has 30, and we have Texas with 40 as well. I'm heading into the polling booth to go cast my vote. The weather is good today. It's in the 70s, which is unseasonably warm for this time of year. I remember 4 years ago when I was here, it was a bit colder, and 4 years before that, it was even colder. This is my second time voting. I was 18 last election. I'm 22 now. So yeah, this is my second time voting. I had just come out of the voting poll. I cast my vote, and they gave me this sticker that says I voted. So it's a different design every time you vote. Some of them have like an American flag on them in the past. Last time that I voted, they gave me like a pencil or a pen that said I voted Fairfax County because they weren't like trying to have you interact with humans. This was back during COVID. But this year, it's this sticker with this design. So it took just about 10 minutes. We were in and out fairly quickly. I did see a lot more crowd this time around than I did the last time that I voted. But last time I voted, I came in the morning at around like 10, 11, that time. And this time, it was like past 4 p.m. because I had work and I just got out. So I think a lot of other people were also coming to vote after work, so it was a bit more crowded than I've seen it in the past. So by the time this video comes out, you all will probably already know who won the election. But yeah, this is your semi-live coverage from me. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time. I'll go home and show you some of the trends and what the voting is like over all of the states, and keep you updated. So voting ends across the U.S. at 7 p.m. local time. So on the East Coast, 7 p.m. is in a couple hours. In California, there's a 3-hour time delay, so they're 3 hours behind the East Coast. So their voting will end later than ours does, but the vote counting will start as soon as the polls close here on the East Coast. When it ends in California at 7 p.m. On the West Coast time, here on the East Coast, that is 10 p.m. So votes will still be coming in throughout the night. Alright, so the polls are about to close in just about 20 seconds. In a couple of states, they're showing Georgia here. It's almost 7 p.m. Yeah, polls are closing in Virginia at the same time. In Maryland and D.C., they'll be closing at 8 p.m. So let's take a look at the trends and see who's projected to win in the states that have already completed voting.
States and NBC News is ready to make our first projections of the night. Here we go. We'll start with the state of Kentucky. NBC News projects that Donald Trump will win in Kentucky tonight. Let's move to Vermont. NBC News projects that Vermont will go in the Kamala Harris column this evening. This is where it brings us on the road to 270 right now. The early start, Donald Trump out in front with 8 electoral votes, 3 for Harris. A long way to go to get that 270, but that's where we are right now.
Well, polls closed in a handful of states, and these are the ones we haven't called yet: Indiana, South Carolina, Virginia, and that all-important state of Georgia. And here's how we're projecting it right now. Too early to call. It may come tonight, but it's not coming this exact moment, so we will continue to watch.
These are all projections, by the way, so it's not guaranteed that those candidates will win in those states. These are just projections based on exit polls and preliminary results.
Looking into some of the states that we're looking at, so you've got Kentucky up right on that.
This is the earliest data we're having so far. We have called Kentucky for former President Trump so far. I'm just trying to get a lay of the land to see.
Alright, so if we look at this panel down here, this is an example state of Kentucky. We see that only 7% of the votes that have been cast have been counted, so that's what this percent in shows you. And then over here we have the number of electoral votes for that state, so here it's Vermont. Right now 0% of the Vermont votes have been counted, but they're still projecting that Kamala Harris will win this state.
This is a state that Republicans have really done very, very well in elections past. If you go back here, Trump in 2020 won by about 16 points. Before that, it was even higher against Hillary Clinton. This is a state that Republicans are going to be safely in the win column, most likely. One of the places we can start to get data from is Hamilton County.
Indiana and this particular county, 58% of the votes are in, and they're showing us who's projected to win based on that data.
She's on top right now with about 49-50% of the vote. There's about 1,300 vote difference right now. Again, still very early, but this is the first data we're getting tonight, so we're kind of parsing what we can so far. There are big areas like South Bend, Pete Buttigieg, who's the mayor there, obviously, where Notre Dame is as well, and the big city of Indianapolis, Evansville, there's a university down there. If we look at the map in 2020, these are mostly rural counties, red counties where Trump can really run up the vote. But again, in some of these smaller counties, he wants to be 60-70% to make sure.
So it's just past 7 p.m. I will give you another update at around 9 p.m. and see if any more concrete results have come in. Polls are still going on in other states. So some polling stations close at 9 p.m. Local time in other states across the U.S. So there's still a long way to go before we can say for sure who's going to win. Alright, so it is almost 9 p.m. here on the East Coast and more votes have been rolling in. Right now, Trump is projected to have 105 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 30. This is without key Democratic states like California and New York, which have a combined total of 82 electoral votes. We're also waiting on results from important swing states, which are sometimes Republican and sometimes Democratic, including North Carolina, Arizona, and Georgia. And these are going to be some of the key deciders for this election. As I mentioned, New York and California have a combined total of 82 electoral votes, and it's projected that these will be Democratic and added towards Kamala Harris's current total of 30 electoral votes, leading to about 112 votes for Kamala Harris. The three key states, swing states that are expected to decide this election are North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. The counting of the votes will be going on for most of tonight, and we expect to have an idea of who the president will be by tomorrow morning, so I'll give you an update then before I head to work. Alright, it is the morning of November 6th, and I'm about to head to work right now, but wanted to give you an update on the presidential race. Even though 100% of the results have not come in yet, enough have come in for the winner to be declared, and the winner of the presidential race for the 2024 election is Donald Trump. So far, he's gotten 279 electoral college votes, whereas he only needed 270 to be declared the winner. He's expected to get around 30 more. So yeah, Donald Trump is the winner. He did win those key swing states that we spoke about yesterday, including Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. So that helped him win the presidency this year. Even though he has been declared the winner, he does not assume his role of president immediately. It's effective as of January 20th, 2025, which is when he takes the oath promising to be a good president for the country. So the time between now and January 20th is what's known as the transition period, where there will be a supposedly peaceful handoff of power from the current president to the next. Another interesting thing to note is that Donald Trump is one of the few presidents in the past 100 years that has gotten re-elected to office, but in times that were not consecutive terms. So most of the times when a president is re-elected, it is because that person is currently the president and they're re-elected for the next consecutive term. But Donald Trump was elected back in 2016, served until 2020, then Joe Biden took over from 2020 to 2024, and now Trump is back 2024 to 2028. Yep. And that's a brief look at this race. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time, and now it's time to head to work.